All right. Well, welcome to a very special edition of the Neugsie Sportscast. I'm your host, Jamie Neugebauer, and I have three head coaches and general managers in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League who have been very gracious to take some time to join me. First of all, I'm not going to point because I always get it wrong which direction to point on Zoom. But first of all, we got Mike Reagan, the head coach and GM of the Flin Bombers. Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Thanks, Dude, for having me.
We got Scott Barney, the head coach and GM of the Humboldt Broncos.
Thanks, Neugsie.
And Ken Plaquin, the head coach and GM of the Kindersley Clippers. Ken, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jamie. Good to be here.
Yeah, appreciate your time. So for those that are just joining in, I guess you're all just started at the beginning, but I got 10 questions that kind of keep me up at night wondering about coaches and GMs at high levels of hockey. So I thought, you know what, maybe people out there have these questions, so I'll throw them out there. I don't know if they're dumb questions. I don't know if they're good questions. We'll find out. But we'll right off the hop, we'll just jump right into it. The way I want to referee this is, I guess I'll call out the order, and if you're just like pass or whatever, then pass. But I'll say Reags, Barney, then Ken, or then Ken, Barney, Reags, or whatever order, and then try to keep it all fair. It's not a favoritism thing, but just gonna do it randomly. And yeah, see how this goes. All right, we'll start it out as it kind of goes around in my screen. Reags first, then Barney, then Ken. The first question, so you have to specifically rank them 1, 2, and 3 in terms of importance for you and your club. So winning, development, and getting guys to the next level. So we know they're all linked, but if you had to put them in an order for your club, the three are winning, development, and getting guys to the next level. 1, 2, and 3. Slot them in there. Go ahead, Mike.
Wow, I'm glad I get to answer this one first. Well, I think they all have a lot of importance in the success of your program, but if you're not winning, it's pretty tough to move players on and obviously develop a good program. So I hate saying this, but in order to have a job, you got to win hockey games. So I probably winning would be number one. And then I would have to say for us, we've, the development part of it is huge. You don't get scholarships without development. So I'd slot that in there. And then obviously moving players on to the next level, it would be number 3. But I think they all have very valuable importance to a hockey club in the success of your program.
Yeah, for sure. Should say no judgment here, obviously. Just personal opinion. All right, Barnes, you're up next.
Obviously, yeah, those are tough questions. And Mike, like Mike said, right, we all got to win, we all got to develop, and the more guys we can get to the next level, the more guys you can get in. But I don't know, for us here, since I've been here, more development is number 1, which helps us. And the more guys we can develop, the more games we can win, and the more games we win, the more guys go on to the next level. Doesn't matter if it's your scouts or your players or your coaches, right? So the more, at the end, the more you can win, the more everybody gets opportunities, right? So I think that's Regs there in Flin, Flon, right? Won a lot of games in the last 4 or 5 years, and they've put a lot of guys to the next level. So it's showing for sure.
So just to clarify, Barnes, you put development, win, move guys on. That's your 1, 2, 3. Okay, for sure. All right, Ken, you're the closer.
Yeah, no, those are all answers I would like to steal. And I agree with them both completely. I'd say philosophically, it'd be development would be 1, next level 2, and then winning 3. But it's really, was one of those chicken and the egg kind of questions. And I haven't been around very long, obviously, as a coach in this league, but I would say that if you can win, you're definitely going to, those other 2 are going to come a lot easier. But I would say that if I had to write down what I was trying to do, development would be number 1, and then hopefully the next level will follow suit, and then winning's part of it, then that's even better. And then obviously add the longevity and sticking around as a coach in this league too. So.
Well, I just think, and obviously I'm not a coach, but I just think, like, I'm not going to give my 3 because nobody cares what I think. But I think unless you're in the National Hockey League, like, I feel like these answers, are kind of going to be along those same lines. Like, everybody's in a development league until you're in the NHL. And then I guess even then you can argue that's a development league to some degree too. But anyway, so I think to Ken's point, I think it's totally fair, whatever level of hockey that you're at, for that question. All right, question 2, and we'll kind of reverse it. So we'll go Ken first, and then Barnes second, and then Reags third. Ken, what is the most fun job that you get to do as a GM? If you had to pick just one, so don't list a whole bunch, just what is the most fun thing that you get to do as a GM?
Well, I'd like to have more than 3 league games under my belt before I start answering some of these questions. As a GM, I don't know. I kind of honestly, if I was going to be, I honestly think of myself as a coach, and I just happen to have to do the GM stuff and I'm learning as I go. The honest truth is, I'm kind of surprised and very happily surprised how the coaches in this league are actually a team, that we're not battling against each other. At least I haven't had that experience yet, where we actually work together and we care about this league. And I'm super impressed with that, and looking forward to more of that. And I'd say that's the thing that I enjoy the most, is being a GM in the SJHL so far.
All right, so working with the other guys in the league.
Yeah, like I can. These guys, when I first got the job, they almost every single one of them sent me a text or called me, reached out and offered help, and that help is still there, and I really appreciate that. I think that's fantastic.
Great answer. All right, Barnes.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? And since I've been here, it's been the same. Everybody seems to get along, right? And there's been some new guys come in and out, and that's a great point by Ken. I know for myself, it's just seeing the other side of the game from the business standpoint, how to run different kind of operations, as far as having a marketing manager, having assistant coach, having an office manager, all kind of, you're working with them to build a expensive kind of what do you call it, yearly plan. It's a lot more in depth to it than just kind of rolling out to game one and here we go, right? So I know for us here with Humboldt, there's a lot goes behind the scenes and to make this operation run. And I'm sure Mike can attest that, and Flon, who have those long trips, right? And the cost of those of that travel and the hotels and making sure everything runs behind, because you wouldn't be able to have these community run teams if you didn't have your community support, right? And so getting yourself out in the community and becoming part of it. And I know from myself, from coming from Ontario, right, and coming into Saskatchewan, I really didn't know a lot coming in, but my family loves it out here. My kids love going to school. We feel like we're part of the community. An example would be on that one. I went to book a trip to go home, and my wife said she'd rather stay here for the whole summer, right? So for me, that's a good sign, right? Everybody's really enjoying it, and that's hats off to the league and the province as a whole, right? And we found that here when we've brought our players in from out of province, that they love being here rather than the previous places they were. So that's kind of my part of doing it and learning the ropes on that side, because you never know in hockey if maybe you're not a coach anymore, maybe you're a GM, right? So it kind of helps you in both regards.
So your answer kind of is really digging into the Humboldt community, I guess, is what you're saying.
And operational side kind of part of it, right? So it's a big part of our thing here in Humboldt.
There you go. I thought you were gonna say the most fun thing is working with Rory, but that's okay. We'll move on. He'll get over it. All right, Riggs, your answer.
Well, I'm glad those guys got to go first. Gave me some time to think about the question and that. But I think that my favorite part of the GM role is every day you're faced with a different challenge. And we all know that this year's been really challenging for everybody. The league, especially trying to get a return to play. And so every day you're faced with a different challenge and that sort of thing. Obviously, like Barnes said, behind the scenes, you're putting together a budget, and it's tough. We're not making money in this league. Teams are hoping to break even, and that's the challenge. And so that's an interesting part. I love the challenge of recruiting. I think as a general manager, I mean, those things go hand in hand. As a coach and a GM, but the challenge of convincing players that your program's the best fit for them, and we're not always going to be the best fit for every player and that, but selling your program and to be completely honest, probably the funnest part of being a general manager is the trade deadline, the adrenaline rushes of when you're able to pull off a trade and acquire a player that you think is going to help you and a piece of that puzzle. It is an adrenaline rush, and I know that Cole McKegg, our assistant, his first trade deadline, he was working trying to pay the bills and that sort of thing, but when he found out that we were able to acquire Kate Kowalski, it was quite a moment for everybody, and that was a big trade deadline for us. But I think the adrenaline rush that you get making deals and trying to improve your hockey club is probably the funnest part of the job.
Yeah, no, I thought I'd get a lot of that answer, and I think that's awesome. Like making a move, making a deal, kind of bringing a guy in. Like obviously nobody likes to say goodbye to a kid. They're people and they're good people 99.99%. So that's tough, but man, like that part of it seems awesome to me.
That is the tough part of the job, though, Nuge. I think I could speak for the other two coaches on here. That's the toughest part of our job is having to trade a player away, or obviously cut a player. And I don't wish that on anybody. And until you're put in that hot seat, it's really difficult. You grow close to these kids and build relationships, and to see them have that heartbreak is really difficult.
Yeah, and the next question was like the worst thing. I should mention that to Ken's point, like from my little bit of experience with the coaches in this league, like I'm not just blowing smoke. Like it's 12 awesome dudes, and like when they say like it matters when they deal away a kid. If you're listening and you're a player like that's been traded by one of these guys, like I could tell you like they mean it, that like that it sucks for them too. So just so you know, just an ad from sort of my perspective. Yeah, so you said it right there, kind of Reags, your point on like the worst thing so far. So we'll jump to you, Ken, I guess, and you've had enough time, I'm sure, like during COVID, dealing with all that, and first training camp and recruiting and everything. There's so many details you guys have talked about too. Ken and then Barnes, you can end it. But so the one thing maybe that needles you about the GM job.
I would say absolutely at every level I've ever been involved with coaching. Telling a kid, no, you're not going to be on this team, or we think somewhere else is better for you, or however you want to phrase it, is absolutely, it's a horrible place to be. Obviously being on the other end of it is horrible too. I've been there as a player. As a coach, trying to come up with the right words and the way to phrase it it's absolutely the least fun part of coaching or general managing. So if I could avoid it, I would, but it is part of the job. If I could pass it on to somebody and make that a sick day, I would, but obviously we can't. So that's the least fun part for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And then Barnes.
Yeah, you know what? You guys both pretty much hit the whole answer there, but yeah, it's difficult, right? When you got to move a player out or tell them. I know I had to move a player. I was away at the World Junior A Challenge, right? And I felt bad that I couldn't actually be there to tell the kid, right? And that's, for me, was tough. And as a kid that was been here for a while, and you have to call the kid, right? And it's not easy doing that one over the phone, right? And it's better to do it face to face, right? I'm sure all of us as players would rather have that, right? And I think, like, well, you know what, the three guys here talking, like, the biggest policy is just being straight, right? And I think these kids respect that a lot more. And you know, we've all grown up under different coaches and had great ones, and had ones maybe we didn't get along with or didn't agree with. But you know what, the best thing is just, you know what, these guys respect just being totally honest, and it's, you know, it worked well with us here. And I think that's the biggest way. And you know, so many people blow smoke up these guys' tires, right, from a young age, and these guys haven't been told no too often, right? I think that's the best thing. Sometimes it's a good lesson, right? Without hockey, just in life, sometimes it's actually good to get cut, you know what? And sometimes this doesn't work out for your team, right? And sometimes a guy that might not work out for my team might work out for another team. And you know what? I'm usually happy when that kid does well somewhere else. It's just kind of, you know what, different philosophy, different settings, different surroundings. And look at Sam Bennett, just got traded to Florida, and he's had like 5 points in 2-3 games, right? So sometimes it's not the coach, it's just the player needs a different situation.
Yeah, you guys keep like jumping into my like next question with your like answers. That's hey, that's perfect. You know, I really want to touch on communicating, and that's, you know, obviously as a broadcaster, you know, writer, I try to be good at that. I'm trying to get better, but as a coach, you know, you guys have that job as well of you have to communicate. That's so central to your job. So you know, I guess we'll go with Reags, Barnes, and Ken in this order. But Reags, are there things that you do intentionally to improve at communicating? You know, at the craft, I guess, of getting you know, concepts on the ice, off the ice, development of a person, development as a player, that are big and long, and being concise and being precise. Like, what's the process for you in trying to get better in that department?
Well, I think as a coach, you're always learning to be a better communicator. You know, I'm definitely a better communicator than I was 14 years ago when I started. But it depends on the situation, depends on the player. You got to understand that, you know, you used to hear that, you know, treat every player the same and right across the board. And that's not true. You can't. Every player reacts differently to different methods of communication and how you handle them and that sort of thing. But the biggest thing for me, Nuge, is at the beginning of the year, we have a conversation with our players. And rule number one for me is I won't lie to my players, and I expect the same from my players, and trust is a big thing. So, you know, if the players want me to trust them, then I have to be able to trust them, or vice versa. Sorry. And, you know, I think that works out well. And Barnes alluded to it earlier, is just be upfront with the players. You know, you never want to get caught in a lie, or, you know, it's not fair to the players. We as coaches don't appreciate being lied to. And so you owe it to your players the same way. And, you know, we have an open door policy, and I think is just really trying to get to know the kids before, you know, during the recruitment process, get to know their families and stuff like that, build a personal connection with them. And, you know, that's going to help you further on down the road, because the players will, you know, trust coming into your office. And I mean, I don't want to speak for the other two guys here, but in my experience, you know, it's typically the 20-year-olds, once they've had a couple of years with you, they really feel a lot more comfortable coming in and having good, honest conversations. And maybe the new guys are a little bit tentative and that sort of thing. So I think it's just being honest with guys, and again, sticking to, you know, for us in Flin is we just don't lie to our players.
For sure. So what I'm hearing is kind of experience really helps, obviously, and taking that time to get to know your players as people, I guess, is kind of what I'm hearing from you.
For sure.
Yeah. Who did I say was going second? Was it you, Barnes?
I think you said me there, Nukes, but
yeah.
what, like Greg said, a lot of points there, right? I think a lot of people try to do the same. I know for me, right, obviously played in a lot of different countries, been under different coaches and stuff when I came in. And the biggest thing for me is that especially in those last 3 or 4 years, you got to know the player before you can coach them, right? And that's a big thing kind of Reg's kind of touched on. And that's a big thing we do here, right? You can, like Greg said, maybe 10 years ago, you come in and scream and all 20 guys be finding the back on the ice. But now, hey, you might lose one guy for 3 or 4 weeks, right? You come in too hard, right? And yelling, screaming just doesn't work, right? So for me, that's a big part, right? And it starts like nowadays here, like with your recruiting on the Zoom calls, like Greg said, and like honesty, right? We have the open door policy here. Like, you know what? Like nowadays, these kids, it's not only hockey, right? And mentally, they're a little fragile than they were 2 or 3 years ago. Even take it 5 or 10 years ago, it's a lot more. And I think having that open door policy and being able to communicate to us too. And that's a big thing, like Greg said, about no BSing or lying to them. That's been a big part of what we do here in Humboldt. And it starts right from the recruiting. And you know what, we commit to guys and do this and that. But in the end, every kid we commit to, we tell them they still got to come here and earn a spot, right? And it doesn't matter if they sign now or they come to training camp as a walk-on, right? And the best players are going to make it. And our big thing is, doesn't matter if you're 16 or you're 20, our best guys are going to play here for us. And if the guy's 16 and he's our best player, well, he's going to play the minutes that the best player comes, right? That usually gets. But yeah, it's a big part of it, and big part comes from the coach to the players, and back, like Mike said, vice versa.
Yeah, for sure. Ken, same question.
Yeah, then not a lot of material left after those two.
Any podcasts you can recommend or what?
Well, I would just like, things are a lot different from when I played in the SJ, where I don't think the coach's door was always open. Matter of fact, I'm quite certain it was slammed shut a lot of the time. So, but now, yeah, I mean, I think there more and more you kind of have to be the cliche player, kind of the player coach, where kids can come talk to you and they can confide in you, and you need to be a bit more of a friend than was probably the experience that I had when I was a player. I would say, yeah, like kind of if you wanted to break it down, it's person first, player second. Kids need to know how much you care before they're going to care how much you know. And I'm finding now more and more that, and I knew this probably coming in, that you need to find players that want to play where you're coaching. I need kids that want to come to Saskatchewan, they want to stay in Saskatchewan or come to Saskatchewan, and they want to play in Kindersley. And I think that's a kind of half the battle. And once they trust you and that's where they want to play, I found the guys that actually came to Kindersley this year, it was fun and it was easy to coach them because that's where they wanted to be.
Yeah, well, those are all great answers. All right, so next question, we'll go Ken, then Reags, then Barney. Then we'll do that. Ken, Reags, Barney. All right. So I understand, and I guess every coaching staff is different probably in terms of what you're specifically responsible for. So all the elements, power play, penalty kill, breakout, 6-on-5, blah, blah, blah. Like all those things, like I'm sure every coaching staff is different in terms of meeting out, those responsibilities to sort of be the leader, the coach for that. But what is your favorite of that list to sort of take the primary lead? Like I kind of made a joke power play on the SJ at Noon show, and I got grief from Mutt Reags here, but I think it was a good power play. So that's another topic for another time. I find power plays fascinating, but what's that one thing that you take the lead at, that you're the most, that fires you up the most, that you're the most interested in? I'm looking for just one. So if you had to pick just one, so yeah, Ken, Reags, Barney.
Yeah. I guess if your power play's clicking, that's your favorite. If it's not, it's your least favorite. If I had to pick one, honestly, I don't even know if I have one. But I would say just my one thing, I guess, would be learning how to coach against other coaches. And breaking down what they do and seeing if not necessarily I can outsmart them, but if I can figure out what my guys can do to stop what they're trying to do. I really enjoy that part of it. And
Fair enough.
I'll keep it short because I don't know what else I'm going to say. So,
hey, fair enough. Reags?
Well, just being honest, I love working with the power play. When you can have a power play that's a threat every time they're on the ice, I think that's a lot of fun. And just seeing the power play evolve, I think, last year's power play for us was the best I've ever had. And you just had the right players, and I think it's your personnel. And I think that's the biggest challenge is your power play can't be the same every year, like some of the concepts and that sort of thing, but you have to really figure out your personnel and make adjustments accordingly. And we just had the right players. A guy like Alec Mallow is just the hockey IQ, and everything ran through him, and Mason Martin with the big shot, and then Donovan Houle, obviously, and Cole Refuse and Easton Hagarth. So it was just a match made in heaven. So I think there's a lot of fun when it comes down to power play. I mean, everybody loves scoring goals. So, but I think, Ken, that was a great answer. I mean, that's probably the biggest challenge is figuring out another team. And when you can do that, it feels pretty good as well.
Great answer. I agree with you, Rex. Barney?
Yeah, I think every head coach loves to do the power play, right? And obviously here we kind of do the same. I take care of the power play, and my assistant, he's in charge of the penalty kill side of it, right? And obviously we work together, and in the end got to make a final decision. But like Greg said, it's like putting a puzzle together, right? Having the right guys for the right positions. You know what? In minor hockey, everybody wants to stand in the half wall, right? But when you get to junior, you have that one guy or two guys that can play the flanks, or you have a guy up top, and you know what? It might be 5 forwards, or it might be, 3 forwards and 2D, or it might be 1D and 4 forwards, depending on what hands the guy shoots, or what kind of shot he has, or how he thinks the game, right? You always have different guys for different spots, right? And I think that's been a big key for us here, and having 2 different units with 2 different looks, right? And that's something we try here. Always, each unit has a different look, and it's harder for the other teams to defend. And yeah, I'm sharing secrets, but it's okay though. That's how everybody gets better, right? And that's how we all learn. And I think with coaching now, that's you see the NHL guys are on all the different meetings and presentations they have. Everybody's willing to share, because you know what? It's like Ken said there, right? Like the biggest thing is just trying to figure out what other teams are doing, right? And watching pre-scouting and showing our guys, right? And obviously videos became a big part of the game, and it's important. So I think that's a big part of it for us.
Yeah, fair enough. I I found it terrifying, maybe slightly terrifying, every time Luke Spadafora would swing out way wide right, and somehow he'd have like a million acres of space out there on the right side of the power play, and he's attacking, and he's such a great passer and does it with such great speed.
And Notre Dame there, right?
Yeah. Oh man, good grief. Anyways, fair enough. And I guess I should say that obviously Mike and Barnes there at the 2 top power plays in the SJ in 1920. So I guess it all makes plenty of sense. All right, fair enough. We move on. I guess the next order here we'll do is Barnes, Ken, and Reags. So we'll get you to lead off again. Barnes, this was a question that I was I guess lying in bed at night thinking about last night. Was when you're in training camp, or in a camp, I guess, and even when you're going through the beginning of a season, you always have a young players or even older players that are struggling, and that's for a million different reasons that could be the case. But how do you know? What do you look for when you decide whether that kid just needs time to develop? Maybe he'll be better when he's older, or if he's not at the level either of the league or like a fit for your team? Like, how do you know if he just needs more time, or if he's not, like, just, not good enough? What do
Yeah,
you look for?
good question, right? And I think you got quite the thoughts there, Nugs, in the middle of the night, anyways. But I think what the biggest thing, right, is what you get some of these like spring camps, right? We haven't had much teams have had opportunity to do them here in a couple of years, right? And then you get them to fall camp, and it's a whole different pace, right? Some guys can do things when it's a little slower when you have kind of your own age, but you add in the 18, 19, 20-year-olds, and it becomes a lot different game with a lot different pace, right? So some of those guys that you thought would be really good, obviously maybe come to camp and they're just not there, right? And I think it comes back to, I think, a few of our points is you guys got to be honest with them, right? You got to be honest with them, and I think if you can show them, you can't just say, hey, you're sitting out tonight, for example. Say, you can't just say, oh, you're sitting out tonight. They want to know why. They want to know why they're sitting out, and I think that's a great thing is we all have video nowadays, and you can show them, 3 to 5 minutes of what they need to work on, right? Just tell them, oh yeah, you know what, it's your turn to sit out. I don't think that really works nowadays. Nugs, your video is going to cut out here in 1 second.
No, I fixed it.
Okay, there we go. So I think the biggest thing is you got to tell them why, right? So I think that's the biggest. Defensive guy, it might be gap control, or he's just struggling mentally. You can see he's overthinking again, right? Just instead of just let the game play, right? And the game's so fast nowadays, it becomes pretty evident pretty quickly. And I know a big thing for us, we don't watch video after the game a lot. We watch it the next morning, like 6 a.m. And you know what? You could see a guy that maybe there's a guy that I saw that night, and you know what? I was just so frustrated with him. And you know what? I don't really want, because that's Friday night. And then Saturday, you know what? I watch it in the morning, and you know what? Actually, he wasn't so bad. It might have been 2 other guys that were a lot worse, right? And I learned that from Troy Smith, right? It sucks getting up at 5:30, come in and watch the video, but you know what? For us, it's really helped us a lot in our development. And you know what? Your emotions are so high after the game, same as when you were a player, right? You go home and you can't sleep till 1 or 2 in the morning. You're tossing and turning, and coaches do the same thing. So I think sometimes it just takes your emotions out of it. Obviously, if you have a long trip, maybe you can do a little bit then, but I think it really helps for us.
Yeah, I thought, yeah, that's interesting. Reading Caleb Dahlgren's book talking about Darcy Hagen and how he didn't, he wouldn't talk to the team after a loss. He would wait till the morning too. And I thought that was a really interesting thing, and that Caleb pointed out in the book too. So continuing the tradition, I guess, for Humboldt.
We still talk to the guys after the game, but it's more the video part of it where we don't. We try not to watch the video unless there's something that we really saw, and we feel that we're going to be really high our emotions on a certain player that night.
Fair enough. All right, Mike. I guess then to you. I
thought it was Ken.
Oh, sorry. Apologies, Ken. How do you know when it's a kid that's, he like? I'm especially interested maybe in training camps, like when you have less time, when you look at a kid and you have to make a quicker decision, like, do we keep this kid with us, and he takes time, or he's just not a level? How do you know that?
I get sometimes, there'll be opportunity to maybe even talk to some of the players that are on, say if he's on a given team for camp, or in situations, maybe the players or another coach is seeing things differently than I am. But I have in the past, and I do it throughout the season, is I'll challenge the kids with something simpler than what maybe they're trying to do in a game scenario, where they're getting overly frustrated, and you can see it's kind of breaking down what you saw them do at a lower level or the year before. And then that also gives you a chance to see that if they can simplify their game, if they're coachable, if they're approachable in that way. And then if they are in a short-term scenario like a camp, then they definitely most likely would be in a season. So they maybe give you an opportunity or a reason to keep them around for preseason or even a little bit longer. So that's kind of something that I've done and I would continue to do.
There you go. Yeah. any kid could be choose to be coachable. I guess that's a good point.
You would sure hope so. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, great point. Reeks?
I think for me is the biggest thing, are you strong enough to play in the SJHL? You know, like I guess when we're looking at, 17-year-olds, whether they're ready to make the jump or 16-year-olds, first of all, you got to be strong enough to play in the league. And I mean, that's going to come with time for sure when you're practicing every day with bigger and heavier players and that sort of thing. And I think it's just, experience, whether a kid's going to develop enough by playing with you. The other thing, I think you got to make a decision, has that player accomplished everything that he's gonna at the previous level, and that's a big thing. Like I'll just use Jaden Mercier as an example. He had 56 points, I think, his 16-year-old year in AAA, and there was no way that he was gonna, grow very much by going back to AAA, and he maybe wasn't strong enough at the beginning of the year, but we felt that during time and through practice and stuff like that he was gonna become stronger and stuff like that, and to play at our level as a young guy, you got to think the game first of all, and you got to be strong enough. So in my opinion, and so those are the two things that we look for, and if they can make that jump, then obviously that's great. We want young guys in the league, and I think there's more of a trend, over the last couple of years, that we're starting to get some of the young guys that are high-end players in AAA. I have a tough time saying U18 and that sort of thing still, but that's the big thing for us. So I call it AAA. Is there anything wrong with AAA, Nuge? I don't know.
Yeah, you say what you want, Mike.
All right.
That's what I say. Fair enough. All right, cool. Hey, I could ask you guys these questions all day, and I appreciate it, but I know you guys don't have all day, and people out there don't want to listen to me talk all day. So fair enough. Just have one more question then. Again, appreciate your time, and I'll hang on to other ones, and maybe we'll do this again. Again, and when we'll end it up here, I guess, with Ken, Reags, Barney. So Ken first, then Reags and Barney. So if you had to coach a different sport other than hockey, which sport would you coach and why? And do you think, how good do you think you'd be at it?
Jeez. I guess that's actually embarrassing that I don't even know. There's so many sports I can kind of toil with, but could I actually coach them? God, I don't know. Maybe baseball, because I can throw and catch, but could I coach it? My son played it. He was very good at it. And I love to watch baseball, especially live. But I really wouldn't want to trust anybody's kid with me coaching that sport. I'll tell you that much for free. So there's my answer.
Hey, got to be honest, right? To thine own self be true. But to baseball's point, you throw 9 goes out there, you ask which pitcher is healthy, get up there, right? Bing bang boom, no problem.
Yeah. Bing bang boom. That's all, coach. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. All right, Reeks.
Well, definitely not basketball, considering I'm 5'7", but I do love the sport. But I guess same as Ken, probably baseball. I enjoy baseball as well. I don't know how good of a coach I'd be, but maybe lacrosse. But I've never played lacrosse, so that's probably the closest sport to hockey that I can think of, anyways. But we'll go with baseball.
Fair enough. All right, Barnes.
Yeah, I don't really have an answer either, and I'm the third guy here. But I played some baseball when I was younger. Good sport, right? And you know what? I don't know. Maybe bowling, so I can sit there in the chair and watch them throw them down the pin, maybe. But no, I don't really have an answer. Obviously, passions for hockey, right? And obviously, hockey guys are hockey guys, and hey, you know what? On that point, I'd love to see obviously these athletes play another sport right in the summer. I know when I grew up, played some baseball or even ball hockey, or got away from on the ice, or at least, you know what, like I come home and probably wouldn't skate till July, right? And skate all July, then head out in August to Europe. Like, I think sometimes they're overdoing it, but everybody feels like they're going to fall behind, right? So obviously the training side of it, you can do that, right? But I think getting off the ice is probably good sometimes for these kids. But that's just my perspective on that.
You guys don't think like there's something that translates to like the spatial aspect of tactics in hockey, like creating space, creating
Basketball,
overloads,
maybe, I
that
guess.
kind of thing.
Right? Soccer,
Yeah.
basketball. I lived over in Europe. Soccer's kind of similar, right? But
Yeah. Fair enough. All right. Well, you guys are humble. There you go. None of you are. I'm going to go with win the World Cup or the NBA title. I appreciate that. But I also appreciate all of your guys' time. Mike Reagan, Scott Barney, Ken Plaquin. Thank you so much for joining me, and had a blast. Thanks, boys.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun there, Nooch. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Neugsie. Appreciate it.
guys. Thanks, Nukes. Good job.